Welcome back, ink drinkers. Thanks for joining us as we dive into our first sci-fi book for our podcast. We will be reading and going through Project Hail Mary.
So excited to start this. Many of you probably have seen it talked about all over social media right now because the movie just came out with Ryan Gosling. But we really wanted to do this book. Both of us had read it very quickly
Yeah.
before the movie came out. And we loved it so much that we knew we had to include it for one of our months.
Yes. So I guess we should just dive right into it.
I personally love the way that this book starts.
Yes.
I highly recommend the audiobook. If you are not listening to it, I would go find a way.
Yeah.
If you have a library card, go to Libby, Audible, Hoopla, wherever you can get it, because the audiobook is phenomenal. I picked this up mostly because my husband wanted to see the movie really bad. He is really into space and space travel, planetary science, and we knew the movie was coming, and so him and I listened to it together. And when it started, you are very disoriented.
Yes.
You're with the main character who is waking up not knowing what's going on in this bed. He can't even talk, like you're just hearing his thoughts. And actually my husband really hated that at first. He was like, I don't understand. And I'm like, but you're not meant to understand. You're with the character as he's trying to figure out what is happening to him and how like he got where he is. So I really love that you get that like disoriented feeling.
Yeah, for sure. It would be terrifying to wake up in that situation. Like looking, well, and like at first he can't even like fully open his eyes. Him describing like mentally trying to tell himself like, okay, open your eyes. Like we just do that without having that actually full conscious thought. So him staying as calm as he is in such a terrifying situation. And then like the way that the description of his environment is given in this first like just couple of chapters, honestly, because it takes him time to realize what's going on where he's at. The robot arms that are taking care of him and whatnot, like, and it's just so well given to you that like you could almost like feel it happening to you. Yeah.
He like methodically goes through each like muscle group, like can I wiggle my fingers,
Yes,
can I move my head, can I feel my toes, and like I feel like you already can kind of get that he's a scientist because of the way he does that. And like I can't imagine being like laying there thinking and not being able to open my eyes, and then once you do, you like see all of these wires
yeah,
and tubes coming out of you, and like having no memory, and there's no one around, like you can't tell if there's anybody around you, there's just these robot arms.
yeah. Well, and then this like disembodied voice going, "What's 2 + 2?
Yeah.
What's 2 + 2?" Like, and he can't even like he knows the answer. You can tell he knows the answer, and he's trying to get the word "for" out, but like trying to get his mouth to form the even simplistic word. I mean, it's just so well done.
And I want to know who decided that was the
Right.
like thing, like the first thing you're gonna do to prove you're conscious is do math. That would not work for me.
Simple math, 2 + 2.
I
Let's do a
mean,
double.
I mean, 2 + 2 is easy, but I would be like, no, no.
Yeah. I did write down like the description too, like of where he's at, because it's very, he's kind of realizing like, am I in some sort of like hospital? I'm quarantined. Like, why have I been asleep? But then he's like looking around. The walls look like plastic, and the whole room is round. There are a ton more hammock-like beds mounted to the walls, each with their own patient in them. Sorry, 2 more, not a ton more. Were arranged in a triangle, and the roof mounted arms of harassment. are in
Mhm.
the center of the ceiling. There's no door, just a ladder leading to a hatch. It's round and has a wheel handle in the center. So you already are getting a sense of that, like wherever he is not a normal hospital setting too. So it's just kind of masterfully done very quickly.
Yeah, and I mean, like, as a reader, you have the context that it's sci-fi and that it's
Mhm.
taking place in
Mhm.
space. So you already kind of have a little idea of
Yeah.
where he is, but like he doesn't have just thinking about that, like if I was in that, am I underwater? Like
Yeah.
could this be a submarine? Like
Mhm.
so just and to think, am I sick? Like what is
Right.
going on? Like I well,
Yeah. Yeah, and he's got no memory of anything. Falls back asleep, and then he's like determined to get out of bed when he wakes back up. And I am not a man, so I cannot imagine the pain of
yeah.
ripping all of the
Two.
tubes out of his body
Mhm.
because ow,
Yeah.
him writhing in pain. But I really like how even though we're in the present day, like something as simple as that thin red line of the blood that he's
Mhm.
seeing, something as small as that gives us an easy transfer to a flashback.
Yeah. Mhm.
I thought that was very well done. It didn't feel out of place at all and sent us right into more of the story and gave us
Yeah.
some good context for like the background and like
Mhm.
hinting. Like it just very much feels like we are this main character to
Yeah.
be able to keep the story flowing.
Mhm.
So this flashback gives us a kind of a fun little hint at um, his his previous profession before we find him, waking up from this assumed coma. He talks about having a meager salary and some prep time before the start of his day, eating breakfast at this diner.
Mhm.
And he opens up an email that he thought he had like
Yeah.
unsubscribed to. And we're getting a little bit of information about from a scientist named Petrova, who's interested in some sort of arc that's happening in space going towards the sun from Venus, and like asking for input because it's strange and it's odd, and it's just kind of and it's a red line, hence the what jogged his memory and everything. And so we just get a tiny little flash,
Mhm.
and so he comes back to from his like little memory lapse or whatever. And he realizes, oh wait, okay, didn't find out my name, but I know I'm from San Francisco and I've got some sort of science background. That's kind of
Mhm.
cool. And he's kind of like trying to like walk around, lift his arm up,
And escape the arms
and
because
escape
the
the
arms
arms
keep trying to pull him back into
into the bed.
bed. And so he's like up against the wall so they can't get to him and like testing the limits of that.
Yeah. And then he even asks the arms, the computer, whatever, the disembodied voice, like, can I have clothes? And it doesn't like even respond to him. So he puts on a sheet. He
And
and
a toga.
and it
Mhm.
makes a toga. And then the arms ask him, well, what's your name? And he goes, I am Emperor Comatose. Kneel before me. I
Mhm.
love the little humor that you see from him.
Yes. So I think that's one of the things that really hooked me after um like the disorientation, you're trying to figure out what's going on. Like there's
Hmm.
this mystery aspect to it, which as a mystery reader always hooks me.
Yeah.
But just the humor of the main character and how he's like kind of taking this in stride
Hmm.
really just kept me like rooting for him.
Yeah.
And so every time he would like make up a new
Yeah.
name, I just cackle. I
Yeah.
would just cackle.
So we've got the arms of harassment and
Mhm.
Emperor Comatose so far.
Mhm.
So he tries to climb the ladder and he's struggling because everything feels heavier. And he's also noting, like, if I was in a coma, like, why don't I have like muscle atrophy? So he's
Yeah.
realizing, like, these arms must have been doing more than just like feeding me and whatnot, like,
Mhm.
must have been doing some sort of exercises or whatnot with my muscles. He's like, I'm not like,
Yes.
bodybuilder muscled, but
Mhm.
I'm not also shriveled. So he eventually makes it up the hatch after falling once, which was, ooh, ouch.
Mhm.
Makes it through the hatch and finds a lab. area.
Mm-hmm.
And his brain naturally, like, he just starts like naming all the different things, like these huge scientific equipment pieces that like
Mm-hmm.
I would have been like, it's some sort of microscope, but he gives it this like long name.
So he obviously knows what these things
Mm-hmm.
are, and that he feels like, oh, that's like a clue. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, so I really was a scientist of some
Mm-hmm.
kind. I don't know why I know these things, but I know these
I
things.
know these things. So yeah, and then he does a simple, is what he says, experiment. He's like automatically going into things to figure out that the gravity in his environment is very different from what we experience on Earth, and that leads him to the conclusion that he is not on Earth.
Yeah, he notices something, like something falls,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, that's weird. And he can't figure out at first why that caught his attention.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, something about the way that's falling is weird. And he automatically just like jumps into science
Mm-hmm.
mode and starts doing experiments. Mind you, I think like maybe a few hours or maybe a day before
Mm-hmm.
this, he was comatose.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he hasn't like eaten a lot. Like he's had these like tubes of
Yeah.
food that are really, he's like, it doesn't look appetizing, but when he eats it, he's like, oh my God, this is the best thing
Yeah.
ever. So he's trying to rebuild his strength. He does this experiment with like dropping
Mm-hmm.
something and timing it. Like
Yeah.
it's a whole thing. Now, I'm going to preface this. I am not a scientist in
Nope.
this way,
Mm-mm.
so I will not get in the weeds
Nope.
with these descriptions. But he does this really cool experiment where he figures out that gravity is more
Mm-hmm.
than it should be. And
Yes.
he's like, so I'm not on Earth, which means I must be in space?
Question
Question
mark.
mark. Like,
Which also would be scary realization, right?
mm-hmm.
So now you're like, okay, I thought I was sick. I was in a coma, but wait, now I'm not on Earth. Wait, what's going on now? Like that is just more to compile on top of the fact that you have no memories too.
Well, especially if you're not getting an inkling that you were an astronaut and
Yes.
that was the
Yes.
scientist you were. Like you kind of get the inkling that he was interested in space with
Mm-hmm.
the like Petrova line, the Petrova email that we
Mm-hmm.
got, the flashback, but you're like, I that doesn't seem astronauty. It
Yeah.
seems more like he's interested in maybe like physics or something. And
Mm-hmm.
especially with him figuring the gravity thing out, like
Yeah.
it seems more like physics. So
Yeah.
you're like, oh, what is he doing in space?
Yeah. Well, and then just because my teacher brain does this, like I'm getting hints too that maybe he's in some sort of academia, just because like when he talked about in his flashback, like he's got a meager salary, he's got
Mm-hmm.
prep time before his day starts. When he's like going through the hatch, he says like holy moly and fudge.
Mm-hmm.
And he like even catches himself. He's like, am I super religious? Do I have kids?
Yeah.
Like he's got those little
Mm-hmm.
like catchphrases and whatnot. And so I mean that's kind of things that I do
Yeah.
in my own teacher profession. So it's like, okay. So I was kind of getting hints of that too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, so are you just a science teacher? Because I mean you could be a physics teacher at that point. Like you would do that
Then
much
why
science, but
why
then
are
why are
you
you
in
in
space?
space? Those things don't correlate either.
There are no children. Hmm.
Yeah. So we keep going on and we get some more math because he does a lot of quote unquote crazy prison scribbling on the wall type stuff.
Well, I mean, if that's all you've got, you know,
I mean,
you do what you got to do.
he
Yeah.
couldn't find paper.
You
He's
use
looking
what you
everywhere.
got. Be resourceful at that point.
And so he's trying to figure out more of his environment and figure out like why am I here? What am I doing? What's going on?
And like, so again, I reiterate that I'm not a science person in this way, and I'm not super into math, but I feel like the way that Andy Weir presents the science
Mm-hmm.
is very accessible. So I don't
Yeah.
feel like I'm drowning or taken out of the story at all. I feel like he makes it so that you understand what's going on and you at least get the gist if you don't get the minute details. Like my husband understood a lot more than I did, but I still really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So we see another flashback where he's back at the same diner talking. He's meeting up with a friend.
Oh yeah, for dinner.
Yeah, for dinner. And she's super stressed out. And that's where we learn a little bit more about Earth's problem. She shares with him, she's like, well, you're going to find out about it like either later tonight or tomorrow. It's going to be all over the news.
The president is going to give a conference
speech,
about it. Yeah.
Because the sun's output's decreasing. There's this Petrova line. They've named it now. The scientist that he got the email from gets to name it, and that's stealing energy from the sun. And basically, what's going to happen if we can't make it stop is that, like, we're all going to die. Mass starvation, ice age.
Yeah.
So all of these things.
The sun won't put out enough heat, and then the earth will cool, and it will cause crops to fail, and then animals will die, and like massive extinction.
Yeah, domino effect. And so then he realizes like what his purpose is. Basically, he's like, I think my job's to solve this. And I'm sitting here going, that would be like a crushing reality. You don't know who you are. You haven't even discovered your name yet. You're in an unknown area. You think you might be some sort of scientist. You're so far by yourself. Mechanical arms are taking care of you. And now you've got to save Earth, question mark?
And are you like going into the line to like figure out what's wrong with it? Like, you're probably trying to work on this problem, but you don't know what the mission was. Like, you don't know if you're like supposed to go collect some of this light or what's happening. Then he like goes and looks in the other beds and realizes that there were two other people that were on this mission with him, but something must have happened in transit and they have both passed. And he like I feel terrible for him because like he sees them but he doesn't remember them, and I feel like he almost wants to not remember them because he doesn't want to feel upset. But he realizes that there were other crewmates on the ship, and he like doesn't know what to do with that information. So he's in the middle of this like crisis thinking about this, and then he gets more food, and that seems to like jog him back to like some out of his momentary feelings of confusion and grief, and he decides to like he's eating, and then another flashback comes along, and it seems to be a year after the last one. So a year after that dinner with his friend. He's actually watching them sending a probe up.
The arc light
to Venus, which it's only been a year. And so that is crazy fast for them to develop something that could go to Venus and even do any type of collection, because one, Venus is hard to get to, and with its atmosphere and all of the technology you would need, people really had to be coordinating in order to build this probe and get it to collect whatever these particles are that are stealing the sun's energy.
They said the biggest problem was getting enough fuel to be able to get to Venus and to get the probe back. And so they are able to see it's like happening in live time. They send back, they get to see the picture of the like scope of what they collect from the Petrova line. And it's these black dots that are scattered, and they're watching it live on TV. Like he's there seeing it, and all of a sudden they move.
Yeah, that would be earth-shattering. Like,
Yes.
they, pun intended. Anyway, they think maybe they're just particles, but once those things move of their own volition, that means it's life.
Yeah.
And so, like, seeing that would be, especially because it's like depicted with a reporter talking to either somebody from NASA, or I forget exactly who it is, but he's discussing it, and then they see him move, and she's like, "Did those just move?" Like, it's very,
yeah, and he checks in with like other people, like
Mhm.
that wasn't a discrepancy, that wasn't like the actual scope moving, this, that, and the other. They're like,
Yes.
and they all say no, negative, 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 and they see it move again. And so it was kind of confirmed right there
Yes.
online live television that like it is, it moved. Like they're assuming it's some sort of alien life form. I mean, it moves. It's alive.
So, like, get that probe back here now so we can investigate it.
Yeah. And Rylan thinks to himself, like, I can't wait to talk about this with the kids tomorrow. And that's when he was like, wait, I'm a teacher?
Well, the way he leads up
I
to that,
know.
he's like, I like kids. I live alone. I don't like where this is going. I'm a teacher. And he like breathes a sigh of relief. So like, even those, it's so interesting to me how he presents this, and like, he's like, knows that there's something wrong about liking children but not having your own children, and then he's like, oh, sigh of relief, I'm a teacher. Like, it's not something weird or like, not good.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a great like bit of humor to throw in there,
because he even says, I don't like where this is going. Oh, I'm a teacher. And so we do get a flashback into his classroom. And so, he's talking about like this apocalypse looming, that there's this possible like alien life form, and he's standing in front of his kids, teaching them basic science. Because what's the point of even having, this happening if we're not passing it on to the next generation? Um, and I did write down this because I'm a teacher, and this has never been more true. There's a couple of times where I'm going to say that. It's taken me years to cultivate a rep as the cool teacher. Kids are smarter than most people think, and they can tell when a teacher actually cares about them as opposed to when they're just going through the motions. And so, like, you see this beanbag scene where he's asking them these like spitfire questions, and he's got this great rapport with his kids, and it just warmed my teacher heart. Like, I loved this scene just because it shows so much of his character. And everything. So like, he dismisses his kids, and this woman shows up.
I did write down, he is very obviously a good teacher.
Yeah, like you could just tell, like his kids love him. They're joking. They've got this like rapport with him, this back and forth. The community that he's built, even amongst the kids themselves, like it was great.
Yeah, he's like sitting afterwards, like grading papers or something, or like packing up, getting ready to leave, and this woman walks in, and he kind of out of the corner of his eye assumes it's a parent.
Yeah.
And he's, says, "How can I help you?" And she asks if he's Dr. Rylan Grace, and if he authored this particular paper about life not needing water to or you don't necessarily need water to have life. And he's like, yeah,
that was me, but I also don't want to remember this because it was an embarrassing time in my life.
He's like, but that got me kicked out of academia. And she like has come to him and is basically like, I need your expertise. We're putting together a task force to look into the Petrova problem, and we want you to take a look at some of the specs that were brought back, because if it lives near the sun, it can't have water, right? I think they discussed the paper a little bit, and he really wrote this paper out of spite, and it seems like it's of his humor. And I, like, as somebody who spent years in academia, like, a paper like that would kill me. Like, I would love this person and want to work with them. But it seems to have made a huge stir up in his field, and he obviously left and became a middle school teacher. But for her to like come in and ask for his expertise, he's like, sure, lady, whatever, and like tries to leave her behind, and she follows him.
Yeah, she goes, this is not optional.
Yes.
And then he gets all the way back to his apartment, and he's basically abducted in the name of science and taken to a makeshift lab and told, like, you're going to work on this. You don't have an option. And you're going to be the person that proves whether or not these things are alive.
And like just the amount of power she displays in this first meeting, like, we are abducting you. You are going to work on this. This has been agreed upon by world governments. We need somebody to look at this, and you're going to be the first person to look at these particles.
Yeah.
And he, like, you see him in this makeshift lab in a suit.
Hazmat, yep.
In a hazmat suit. And he's like, she's like, okay, start looking at him. And he's like, is this really necessary? And she's like, the room's full of argon. Don't puncture that suit. And he's like, what? And then he's like, wait a second. Am I a guinea pig? And she's like, no. And he's like, I'm a guinea pig. And she's like, yes, you are. Yeah, basically.
Yeah. We snap out of the flashback and see that because he's gained the knowledge of his name, he is able to finally get through the final hatch because he couldn't before. There's one more hatch leading from the lab to somewhere else. And he gets access to the control room. And he does some more science explaining here and realizes that there's not gravity happening, but the ship that he's on is moving at a certain velocity, causing, so he's feeling the velocity, which is causing it's not really gravity that he's feeling, it's the velocity that he's feeling. And then we automatically slip back into the flashback where we see his first day discoveries over looking through the specs and his like frustrations over like this simple experiment's not working. He can't vaporize them. X-rays don't, or they're absorbing X-rays, so he can't see them. He can't figure out what elements they're made of. They are unaffected by temperatures all the way up to like 2,000 degrees Celsius, which doesn't make sense because they're living, I mean, it does, but it doesn't because they're living on the surface of the sun. And he's talking about like how much energy they're able to store, but he can't figure out how they're able to store it. And he makes a note. He tells Strat, she's like, well, is that even important? And he was like, well, nothing in nature has that kind of energy storage. So yeah, that's important. I just can't figure out how they're doing it. And that's beyond frustrating.
They're insanely resistant. And so it's like they keep this constant temperature of like 96 point something degrees Celsius. And he's like, it doesn't matter what I do to them. They're always at this.
Yeah.
And Strat eventually asks him, well, what would you call these things?
Yeah.
This is something that is like very big in this book, especially to Ryland. He names everything. Everything gets a name. And he coins the term astrophage and actually uses like the way a scientist would probably go about using like Greek roots and things like that to make this word.
Yeah.
And he coins the term, and so she's like, okay,
yep, cool. Yeah. And then we see him back in like the control room right after this. And I'm really glad that the science and math are so well explained here because he's looking at like a scope in this control room and he's doing some calculations and realizing that the star that he's looking at based on the light that it's emanating and a couple other things that he's like
how fast it's moving across his screen. He's like,
yeah, the velocity of it. And he's like, wait, that's not the sun. I'm in a different solar system.
Yes. He's like, I am not in our solar system. So where
am I?
Is he?
Yep. And then he immediately goes, oh my God, I am so going to die. And then he hyperventilates for a while. And I thought, Yeah, that seems about the appropriate response for right now.
That's pretty normal, I would say.
You've been really calm up until this point. I think you deserve to just, panic for a moment.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So once he calms down, he's able to access some more of the controls, and the map of the Hail Mary is kind of explained. It's in the front of the book, which is nice, but he kind of gets to rotate through it. Like, okay, I started out in the dormitory, and then there's a lab, there's storage underneath, there's some cable fairing area, there's a fuel spot, there's a spin drive. I don't know what that means. And then he realizes that, like, when he tapped on like the fuel storage, it calculates astrophage. And so that's when he realizes, like, wait, somehow, don't know how because I don't have my memories, somehow we figured out how to use astrophage as fuel.
And something like a little bit earlier we see too, while he's looking through things, is that the Hail Mary has Chinese, Russian,
Russian.
and English writing around the little seal or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he knows that this is like a huge effort by many different countries.
Yeah. Yeah, they had described like the seal. I had written it down somewhere, but I can't remember. And so that's where he had also found out, like, oh, I'm on the Hail Mary. Like, that's what this is called.
Exactly.
When he was going through the control panels and everything. And he also sees on those astrophage panels when he's looking through, because like one of the fuel tanks, it reads that it's empty, and he's looking at the amounts of the others, and the temperature is on there, that 96.415. And that brings on another flashback where we see him back in his makeshift lab,
frustrated,
and he finally decides that, you know what, nothing else has worked, I'm gonna stab it. So he stabs it with a needle. And all of a sudden, it goes translucent. He can see it.
It dies.
And it dies. But when it dies, he was able to tell what it was made of. And the poor guy.
I feel so bad for him.
I feel so bad for him.
For sure this was it. And he tells Strat's there.
Yes.
She's still there typing away on her iPad or whatever. And he's like, oh. And she's like, what? And he's like, I got it to explode. And she was like, how? And he's like, I poked it with a syringe. And she's like, you poked it with a stick. And he's like, it was a very scientific stick. And so he runs it through this machine, and she's like, oh, good. Like, what is it made out of? And he's like, mostly oxygen and hydrogen.
Yep.
And it's to hydrogen to an oxygen. She's like, so water. And he's like, yeah.
Yeah. And he's kind of just devastated sitting
there. It just bursts his bubble. And I feel terrible for him.
Yes. And then in his depressive state, we see him flashback, and I thought this was very honorable of him. Because he has a moment where because he had been looking through things, he found like clothing finally, and he goes back to his comrades, and God bless him, because this probably was the hardest thing that he's ever done. He clothes them because he got more memory of them as he's like sitting here reminiscing and thinking, and ends up pardon me, ends up putting them in their uniforms and giving them like this space burial, because he wants to make sure that, they're honored and everything, and he commends their bodies to the stars through the airlock, and everything, realizing that, yes, I'm here alone on this mission, and this is what I need to do right now.
It's just so heartbreaking to hear, or to like listen to him remember them. And like he describes Ilyukna and how she was so jovial and always there with a joke and a fun time, and how stoic was, and how he was a really great commander,
and how Ilyukna could get him every once in a while to crack like the smallest of smiles.
And so it's like you get an idea of them, even though they never really enter the story as full on characters themselves, or at least not until this point.
Yeah.
That he really had a special bond with them, and so he's doing his best to honor them the best way that he can. And obviously, having deceased remains with you is probably also not the best.
No.
So it's like it's it's honoring them and also trying to keep the mission as safe as possible.
Yeah.
It was just really heartbreaking to hear him
It
remember them.
was. And then I think it kind of spurs on those feelings spurs on a little bit more of like the problem. And so he remembers a time when he was back in the classroom with his kids,
Yes.
where he probably goes a little bit too far, but at the same time, you know, you get this like fine line of in the teaching profession of like when your kids are curious how to explain situations to them, and the kids were asking him like, what's going on with the sun, like it's been all over the news, I just saw it again, like can and he's a science teacher.
Yeah, who else are they going to ask?
He's built this great relationship with them, and so he tries to explain it to them the best he can. He relates it to algae in the ocean and how it affects and everything. And one of the kids goes, "You mean the astrophage?" And he's like, "Where did you hear that?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, the president called it that last night on his in his speech." And he had literally named it that the day before with Strat. So like, this is how quickly things are going.
Yes. Well, it's a big it's a problem that affects everyone, and so things are obviously escalating quickly. And he's teaching them like geology, like it's rocks that they're into at that moment, and some kid just randomly asks him that. And so I understand he goes through this whole thing where he's like, I don't want to lie to them. Like, I'm not going to lie to them. And so he tells them, but in my opinion, low key, I feel like he goes really far with like how he describes those things, and like, oh, then the sun is going to get colder, or the earth is going to get colder because the sun isn't putting out as much heat. And they're like, oh, and then he's like, well, and crops will die, and then animals will die, and then people will die, and the kids really start to get scared. And they're like, well, how long will this take? And he's like, oh, probably not for another 30 years. And they're like, oh, and then they stop worrying about it. And that comfort of time for these kids makes him rethink everything. And he's like, these kids are going to be in their 40s when this hits, and they're going to face the brunt of this. And he basically is like study hall for the rest of the period and leaves. He shoots out of there like a rocket, which I'm like, dude, you didn't even have somebody cover your class, like holy crap. And he just like,
it's junior high.
He runs back to this lab because Strat has basically dismissed him and is basically like, okay, you did what you need to do, and we realize that it's not going to affect us or infect us in any way. You are our guinea pig. So we're going to send them all out to the other labs. You can go back to your life. And he's like, I want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, you're already done. And he's like, no, for my kids, like they're gonna like face this. I want to help try and fix this so that they don't have to.
Yeah, that's one of the other things that I wrote down. Never a truer statement has been made about teaching, because I say this about each set of kids that walks into my classroom at the beginning of every school year, and everything, because he says, I have to do this for my kids. I mean, they're not my kids, but they're my kids.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, that is how I feel. Once a child steps into my classroom, the moment I meet them at open house, that is one of my kids, because they're going to be a part of our community and our family. So like, that resonated with me so much right there. Like, his realization that they are going to grow up in a normal, idyllic world, but then they're going to go through literal hell because of what is happening around them. And they don't realize it because kids' concept of time is so different. And so him putting up such a stink for Strat to leave him just 3 of those astrophage, I was like, yes. So yeah. So he knows that he gets those 3. We see him back on the Hail Mary, going through more of the screens where he finds the Beatles, John, Paul, George, and Ringo. And he is still looking at the astrophage and does a bunch more math and realizes that he's going to be out of fuel in 40 days.
Yep.
And that kind of sinks in and realizes that the Hail Mary is not going to be going home. That he is on a one-way ticket kind of suicide mission, and that those Beatles are there so that whatever he discovers, he can send back to Earth to hopefully solve the problem. And that even to his amnesia-riddled brain, he probably knew it before, but that this is new information to him, and he's probably going to die out here on this mission.
Yeah, he like full on realizes he's on a suicide mission. And I think that realization would shock anyone that wasn't prepared for it. And just to like sit in that for a second, like, wait, there's no fuel to go home. Mind you, he, from how like long his hair is and stuff, and he's like, I've been out here a long time. So it would take a long time to go back. And so just to like realize that, I think would give any sane person pause. Like, oh my God, okay. But you have no choice. The choice has already been made. So you kind of just have to like accept it.
Yeah. You have to sit with that. So yeah. And okay, we've talked about this. He's named things, right? We've got the arms of harassment. He's Emperor Comatose. He got the astrophage. He coined the name for the astrophage. So he's back in his lab with his 3 little dots: Larry, Curly, and Mel.
Of course.
Our 3 stooges. Which I loved. And he's frustrated. He's pondering. He's trying to figure out. He's like, okay, you stay on the sun, but you travel to Venus. Like, why?
Why Venus?
Why Venus? You can store all of this energy. None of this heat bothers you. What's going on?
Well, and you're obviously taking the energy from the sun. So what do you need Venus for?
Yeah.
That's not where you're getting energy. So this is weird. And he starts to try different things. First, he's like, well, maybe it's the light from Venus. So he tries different light frequencies. He creates like this dark box and puts first an LED light, and it does nothing. And then he's like, well, maybe it's like certain frequencies of certain elements is the light, and the IR light. And he tries that, and at first it doesn't do anything. But then he's like, well, maybe it's CO2.
Because Venus has a different makeup than a lot of the other planets, and carbon dioxide is one of the ones that is majorly different on Venus than others.
So he tunes these lights to particular frequencies. I didn't write them down. And it works. The little dots fly off the slide. And he's like, oh shit.
Because he loses them. They're gone.
Oh shit.
Gone.
They're in this box somewhere.
So then he has to like make a complete like dark out. Like he can have no light of any type emitting anywhere.
And then he puts on these goggles
that he makes. He invents IR goggles to have the brain that he
tapes
has
them to his face.
And then he's able to, like, he's looking around. And he's like, okay, gotcha. There's Larry. There's Curly. Here's Mo. Oh, shit.
There's a fourth one.
Because,
again, they emit the Petrova frequency. So that's what he's looking for.
And he accidentally found out how they breed. Apparently, they need carbon dioxide for some reason to be able to do this breeding or whatever.
At a particular, like, percentage or ratio or whatever.
They have to get a certain amount of energy from the sun, and then they travel to get the CO2, and then they can split. He accidentally finds this, and
which is huge
because now, I mean, it's a game changer. Because now they'll have an unlimited supply. They can kill them, poke them, take them apart, do whatever they want to them to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so he's like, hello, Shemp. Which is another stooge.
But he calls Strat. and tells her.
Yep.
And she's like, hold on. And
stay put, don't move.
Sends him on the craziest trip of his life. He like is taken from where he is in a helicopter, then taken to a fighter jet, then taken to another fighter jet, then taken to a third fighter jet, onto an aircraft carrier, a Chinese aircraft carrier. So like, it's so funny how he described it. He's in an American naval fighter jet, and he's like, are we about to land on that aircraft carrier? And pilot's like, yep. And the American pilot is staring at the Chinese like sailors, and they're like mean mugging each other. And basically he touches down, they get Ryland out, and he leaves. Like, we're not friendly, but we're working together type of stuff.
So once again, abducted in the name of science.
And super disoriented. Like, because on the first flight, they're like, take this so that you don't throw up. Basically. And he passes out, and he's just like, what is how why am I think
it was like 18 hours straight of like,
it was very long.
And so he lands in a conference room full of officials from all around the world, and Strat's like, here's the man that bred astrophage. We've already had scientists double checking his work, and yes, there are 4 of them. I only left him with 3. So it's not wrong. He did do it. Explain to this crowded room on your lack of sleep and nausea how you did it and what you discovered. Go.
Which, when he gets into this room, it's not just Strat and a bunch of Chinese scientists. No. It is people from all around the world. So again, looking at how he traveled, where they are, and the people that are gathered, you can tell how much power she has, and how the world is coming together to try to solve this problem, because they realize that it's going to affect all of them. So even all of these governments that have historically hated each other and have like very tense relationships are working together to try to solve this problem. And so he's like, okay. And he explains his process, and basically like, they go to Venus to breed.
And while he's talking about it, I can't remember what nation it is or whatever, basically like picks up a phone, puts it back down, and is like, yep, we just duplicated it. That works.
I think it's China. And they're like, how did you do that so fast? And somebody else is like, spies. Like, they heard the information before he even got there. But they verify it.
They verify it. And he's basically started to ask, they start asking him like, well, how long would it take? Could we do this on a larger scale?
How would you build like basically a breeding facility, or like a tube or whatever? And he gives them very basic, like, this is what I would do at a basic level. And I think maybe the person from China, the people that replicated it, give the half-life of it, or like how many grams or whatever they could get at a certain rate. I didn't write that down.
But. I didn't write the sciencey part down either. And Hail Mary is mentioned, and he kind of asks about it, and he's like shuffled out of the room. He gets to go shower, take a little nap or whatever, and then he's brought back to the conference room, where he's given some more information about what they've learned about astrophage migrating and everything, because they realize like it's not just affected our star, but they've realized through like mediocre amateur astronomers that it's been affecting other star systems, and that each time an astronomer has found it, that every star that's within approximately 8 light years of it has also been infected and dimmed, and that it will only dim each star by like 10%, and then it just stops. They don't know why it stops. And everybody's like, oh, okay. But if the sun dims by 10%, we're all dead. And so that's the problem with this.
He goes in, and they start talking about all of that. And somebody's like, are we sure we should be telling him this? Like, doesn't he need some type of clearance? And Strat stands up and is basically like, I deputize you to have clearance for all of the information for Project Hail Mary. And so he finally is like, okay, he's read in. They tell him all about this, but they're like, there's this one star that is in kind of like the center of all of this that has been unaffected. And so it's like it's well within the 8 light years.
Yep.
It should be affected, but it's not, and
Mm-hmm.
it's Tau Ceti. And so what they want to do is find out why.
Yep.
Why has this one star fine when all of the stars around it are dimming or have dimmed by 10%?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're trying to create a mission to
Yep.
go there. And
Yep.
he's like, we can't go there.
That.
We don't have that technology.
They're like, he goes, we need like alien spacecraft to get there. Do you have that? And they're like, yep, we sure do.
Yeah. And the Russian, Dmitri, is like, we can do it.
We can do it. It's astrophage.
I really love Dmitri. His humor is so great. And I just like, I love that we get to see him and like the interactions.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I feel like Russians are in media are depicted like a very specific way.
Yeah.
And he is like the total opposite. Like they're usually like stoic and all that kind of, and he just seems like fun.
Yeah.
And him juxtaposed with Strat, who is so dry and so stoic and so to the point. And I just love that like juxtaposition there. Yeah. Like it just makes it so fun.
Yeah. So that's where Rylan realized, okay, Project Hail Mary, clearly a success because here I am in outer space.
I must be near Tau Ceti. Must be that star out there.
Yep. And then he realizes that his mission is to find out why Tau Ceti wasn't affected by the astrophage. Mm-hmm. And this is where he does some math as well and realizes that like with relativity, he's only experienced probably like 3 years. But by the time that like he's grabbed information, done the science that he's needed to do, puts it on the beetles to get it back to Earth and everything, that they're going to have experienced close to like 26 years of, and he says it, astrophage hell on Earth before they get any sort of answer to possibly even solving the problem. And so he's trying to figure out like, okay, I was in a coma, but like why? Like if I've only experienced 3 years, like why would that have been a problem? And so he this time tries to like bring about his own flashback. So he's just like kind of calmly sitting there, like don't think specifically about the problem, just kind of think around the problem. And this is where we see a flashback between Strat and Ryland, and she calls him in and it's like, okay, we've got a problem. We have to have a very small crew at a very confined space. And the psychiatrists have basically told me, based on like what the Russians have said, is that like they'll kill each other. Like everybody's going to kill each other. But the psychiatrists say that in this situation with our crew, that a crushing depression is likely and the suicide is a real risk. So like we possibly won't even like once we send them there have anybody left to even send us something back. So like there was this idea put together to put cancer patients into comas while their chemotherapy treatments were happening, but the experiment didn't go well because they like woke up with like mush minds.
Well, and it only worked on some people.
Patients. Yep.
So they find out that there's this coma resistance gene. And so it's like the new potential plan would be to find people that have this gene that can be on the crew. And Ryland's like, ooh, like that's a pretty big number of people. However, you might not have the most qualified people. And so it's like, how do you balance that?
Yeah. But it is the more guaranteed way to be able to have a living crew by the time they get to Tau Ceti. So he's like, do the DNA tests on the people that are qualified for it, put them in a coma, and then they won't have the experience of getting on each other's nerves or going through, the depression or introspection of their timely deaths, because we know it's a suicide mission, and get back to work because you've got years to figure out the automated care system. Like you knew that was the answer. He'd like basically tell Strat that like you knew that was the answer. You just wanted somebody else to tell you. And so we see him back on the ship, like, okay, so that's why I was put into a coma. And we see a countdown going down because he's, been traveling still
Yeah.
to Tau Ceti.
Mhm.
Clearly, he woke up before he needed to. And all of a sudden, gravity's gone, and he'd been like prepping himself. Like,
Before that, like we see him in the control room and he's going through different panels and he finds something called the
oh,
Petrovoscope.
yes.
So like he knows that there's something that he can use to identify a Petrova line once they get there, but it's disabled while the engines are on because
Yes.
obviously they're emitting Petrova light. And he realizes he has a little bit over 5 days until he reaches his destination. And then we see the flashback, and he comes back out of it and he finds all of these resources, the library,
Yes.
all
Yes.
these reference guides and how to utilize the beetles. And then the clock ticks and he's like, okay, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And the way he describes like dropping into 0 G
Mm-hmm.
sounds absolutely
Yeah.
terrifying, so scary. And then he pukes into his own shirt and I was just like, that is so gross.
It's so gross.
Like I
And then he just like
understand.
holds it there while he's trying to find clean clothes.
I understand, like, he didn't want it just, like, floating around, but at the same I could just slimy on your skin. No,
No
mm-mm.
thanks. Oh, no thanks. So gets himself
Mhm,
cleaned up and then starts looking through the instruments. And at first, he can't find anything when he's looking through the
mhm.
petroscope. Um, so he's like scanning through, scanning through. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then in the bottom part of Tau Ceti, he finally finds it. There is a red Petrova line.
Yes, mhm.
And then all of a sudden, as he's looking at it,
Part of it disappears, and he's like,
huh? What's happening? And he looks a little bit closer, and I wrote down because it says a roughly triangle. It's roughly triangle shaped. Something's blocking his view, and it has gable-like protrusions along its hull.
"Mhm,
Yep, I said hull. It's not an asteroid. The lines are too smooth, too straight. The object was made, fabricated, constructed. Shapes like that don't occur in nature. It's a ship. Another ship. There's another ship in the system with me. This is an alien spaceship made by aliens. Aliens intelligent enough to make a spacecraft. Humanity isn't alone in the universe. And I've just met our neighbors. Holy fucking shit.
it's like, that realization would have to be insane. Like, he switches from the Petrova
I
scope to, like, a regular, just, like, I don't know if it's a telescope or
It's called
what,
a helioscope, I think.
something like that, and he like actually gets a picture and he's like,
Oh
whoa,
my god.
what is happening?
Yeah. And so then he starts hearing this like noise, blip, blip
Mm-hmm.
noise. And one of his screens comes up with a blip A,
Mm-hmm.
and he does some math and realizes that blip A is 139 meters long.
It's 3 times the size of the Hail Mary. The Hail
Yep.
Mary, I think they said, is like 47
Yes.
meters long.
It's 47 meters long.
And he's like, much
Yep.
bigger than me.
Much, much.
And it's coming at me.
Yep, sure is. And it's oddly shaped. All the surfaces are flat, and
He's like, that doesn't make sense.
no,
That's not good for travel. Like,
it's not
what
good
is
for travel,
happening?
and for like atmosphere, for air
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
inside, like a breathable atmosphere. So he's like really confused by it, but he realizes too, because the Petrova line or the Petrova scope had picked up flashes of Petrova when he
Mm-hmm.
first saw it, when it was blocking his
Yeah.
Petrova line that he was
Mm-hmm.
seeing from Tau Ceti. He's realizing that it's also powered by astrophage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, okay, is this something that we also sent out here, since it's
Mm-hmm.
fueled by astrophage? Did another country send it out here? What's going on? Let's try to figure some stuff out. So he goes out of like autopilot into manual mode,
Yep.
and
Mm-hmm.
he like moves the ship a little bit, and blip A mimics it completely. He does it again, and blip A
Exact
exact
velocity and
everything.
everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, okay, there has to be some sort of intelligent life form on here for it
Mm-hmm.
to match in the way that it did.
Well, and also he eliminates it being from Earth because he's like, I don't have a radio. option.
Yes.
Except for like internal radio between crewmates. So if they had sent out multiple ships to like ensure that one of them got there would be a way for us to communicate to each other, and I don't have that.
Yeah.
And then he also kind of toys with the idea of it being a probe. Like maybe it's a probe, but when it responds so quickly in the same way, he's like, oh no, there has to be somebody in there. Something
is in there.
Responding.
Yeah. And so then all of a sudden he hears another blip, and now there's a blip B. And he looks out through like the regular telescope, not the petroscope, and he sees some sort of like cylindrical thing coming towards him. And so, and it's coming pretty slowly. He does some estimation and realizes, okay, I've got about like 40-ish minutes before it would get to the Hail Mary. And he like automatically knows how to use like the EVA suit and the airlock. He's like, okay, clearly I got trained on this because I know how to use it. I don't remember, but I know how.
Yeah, like the fact that putting the suit on and doing it is second nature without having the memory is freaky.
Yeah.
And how he talks about it being like a bug reverse molting, like it just has the one hatch in the back and you get in and it's all one piece, and he just knows how to do it automatically.
Yeah.
And that he knows you have to have two tethers and one always needs to be on, and how to cycle the airlock, and that, oh, I don't have to like depressurize and all this stuff for a long period of time. Like the whole ship is at this pressure, and it's just really interesting to like hear him go through this experience.
Yeah. And so he gets through the airlock and kind of calculating where it's going to be. He has to travel a little bit outside on the hull of the ship. And he kind of stops and he's like, is this worth risking my life right now? Like, I'm here for the mission. Like, if I die, Hail Mary ends. And he's like, no, any information is good information. Like, they might know something. I'm going to do this. So he retrieves the cylinder.
Well, because he's thinking about it, right? He's like, he's like very excited.
Yes.
Like, I want to meet, is it worth it? Yes. But is it worth killing all of humanity? And he kind of like does the, like the Michael Scott meme, like, and he's like, still yes, because, well, they might eat me. We don't know. The way aliens are depicted in, our media, they could be really nice or they could see you as food.
Yeah.
So he's like, I don't know, but if they have something to show me, obviously they have astrophage. Like, did they invent it? Are they having a similar problem? Are they here for the same reasons? Like, that's better than just doing it by myself.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of agree.
Yeah.
I would be freaked out though.
I'd be freaked out. So he retrieves the cylinder, gets it back inside, and
and he says he's so eager that he like runs back with his tether, and he's like, I am not safe about this at all. No. I was very bad.
No. He rips off like the EVA suit and immediately is hit with the smell of ammonia. He's like, oh my gosh.
He's like, it smells like cat pee. And if you've ever smelled cat, oh my gosh, yeah, your eyes probably watering.
And then he also tries grabbing it, and it's burning hot. And he's like, it wasn't hot before, but realizes like he had the gloves on from the EVA suit. So he leaves it in the airlock. He's like, I'm just gonna let it float in here, like it'll cool down, but it shouldn't be hot because it was just out in space. It should be cold, if anything. So he leaves it in the airlock. He's like, okay, I cannot wait to do all of these experiments on it. Goes to the lab, and he's like, well, crap.
How is any of this supposed to work? All of this looks like it assumes that there will be a floor or that there will be gravity.
Yep.
This makes literally no sense.
Yep. And so he's sitting there going, okay, the lab's a mystery. There needs to be gravity. Let's see if I can remember. And we see a flashback where there's a meeting between him and Strat and Dr. Locken from Norway. She's Norwegian. And she's like, you do realize, like, your lab equipment won't work without gravity. And
well, first, it's that Strat is forced into this.
She is.
So we've seen her exert so much power, and she basically brushes anybody off that she doesn't want to deal with. And the fact that she's like, I've been forced to be here, this is important. Like, you get a certain amount of like, holy crap, this like must be a real problem. But the one part I thought was really funny is the science squabble beforehand.
Yes.
Between Dr. Locken and Ryland. And she's like, oh, you're the Ryland Grace that wrote this particular paper. And she's like, that paper was a slap in the face, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, you don't necessarily need water. You don't know that. And they keep going back at each other. And Strat's like, can we stop now? Are we done?
Yeah.
Like,
you're wasting my time.
I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. So basically she was forced into this meeting because the lab equipment won't work without gravity. And Strat's like, yeah, we're already working on people creating like the 0G version of that. And she's like, Locken's like, okay, you do realize how long it took people to make the equipment that is now to work the way it is? Like, you really expect it just to work, and like you're willing to take that chance that the zero gravity version of it will work?
Well, it's taken years of iterations and stuff for these things to be so tested and trusted. And it's like, and you're just going to make 0G versions out of nowhere and assume they're going to be just as good? Why would you do that? And she's like, well, we don't really have a choice now, do we?
Yeah.
And she's like, yes, you do. And she presents this idea of making, she talks about a centrifuge.
Yeah.
Like, she kind of describes it, and then Ryland's like, she's talking about a centrifuge. And she's like, how would we even do that? And she talks about having the fuel tanks balance with the main cabin, and how you could split them and spin around each other, and they would be able to balance out. And she's like, no, those would be too heavy. And Ryland's like, half of the fuel would be gone. Most of the fuel would be gone by then. And so they would probably be very equal.
Yep.
And she's like, but still, the gravity would push towards the nose of the ship. So that's not going to work, and push outwards, not have. And so she presents this idea where the ship would break apart and be held together by Xylon cables, and the cabin part would flip so that the nose faced inward, and so the gravity would be appropriate.
Yep.
And Strat kind of looks at Ryland, and she's like, would this work? Which I think is so funny. Like, she looks at him for everything. For everything. Would this work? Would this work? And he's like, technically, yeah, it would. And she's like, okay, we're doing it. And Locken's like, okay, I'll write up a paper and we'll start a committee. And she's like, nope, you're with us now.
Let's go.
And
pack up your stuff.
You can't just make me do this. And she's like, Ryland's like, you've been drafted. You get used to it. Welcome aboard. You know?
Come on, let's go. So then that's where Ryland realizes, oh, I've got a centrifuge. I can make gravity. So he reads through the manual sporadically, sees that there's an emergency like protocol, hits the little button, and slowly feels gravity take place. It's very gradual. He's like, this is kind of amazing. And then
I would be a nervous wreck.
Yes.
Like, starting the centrifuge, just having this memory, I'd be like, are we sure this is gonna, because obviously this is the first time it's happening in space, right?
Yeah.
They were all in a coma until then, so he has to do it. And like, what if this goes wrong? Like, what if one of the cables is jammed or something? Like, I would be a hot mess.
Yeah. I kind of want to show it off for our viewers, let's be honest.
So yeah, this is how it would work.
So the cables would bring it out. This is the compartments that we're talking about where he's still living. And then this whole ship spins so that he's getting gravity.
Which is so cool.
So that's what he enacts so that he can have gravity on space.
And use the equipment.
And use the equipment. And I did write this part down because I thought this was hysterical because, you know, we love this in books. But he goes, oh, I lost it. Where'd it go? Oh, the Blip A spins in space. It rotates end over end, probably at the exact same rate as the Hail Mary. I guess they saw me spin up the centrifuge and figured it was another communication thing. Humanity's first miscommunication with an intelligent alien race. We love a miscommunication trope.
Which is amazing that, like, whoever is in this other ship has copied every single thing that he's done.
Yes.
Since they got close to each other.
Yes.
And so you're like, so to the velocity that, like, he moved the ship for the amount of time he moved the ship, and for them to also spin is hilarious.
It is. So Rylan finally gets his stuff to the lab.
And he gets the cylinder. He finally gets the cylinder back to the lab. He goes in the airlock. It's cooled down. And he's like,
okay, let's find out. The first thing that he does is try to figure out what the cylinder is made of. And he runs this test a couple of times because he doesn't believe his findings, because the cylinder is made out of xenon. And for us on Earth, xenon's noble gas.
Yes.
So for it to come out as a solid metal-like form, he's like, this cannot be true.
Yeah, it's only ever a gas. Like, it doesn't bond with anything.
And so he was kind of flabbergasted by this. And so he's just, okay, here we are.
Well, and he tested on other things.
Yeah.
Like, and he's like, this has to be broken. Because he's like, basically, it looks like a scanner gun. So then he tested on other things, and that comes back normal. He's like, no, really, like, this is actually xenon.
Yeah. And then he realizes that there's like a groove on it, and he's trying to open it like righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and he can't get it to open. And then he just kind of has a thought like, well, maybe aliens don't open it the same way we do. And he tries the opposite way, and is able to get it open. And this like weird thing shoots out of it.
Which, with both the solid xenon and the way the thing opens, does he not remember we're dealing with aliens?
Right?
Like, you don't know what their planet is like or what elements they have.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, maybe it is xenon. Like, come on.
Right?
You know, like, we're dealing with aliens.
Yeah. So he describes this like model thing that's in it. And it's very complicated how he describes it, like these little molecule things, these little bobbles, and the lines coming off of it. Yeah. But he's able to figure out that it is a model of the SAR system, and there's a Petrova line coming off of a certain one, and he realizes that it's what he knows as 40 Iridian, which is a star in the vicinity. And so he's like, oh, so this must be where he's from, or they are from, where Blip A is from. And he's assuming that since there's a Petrova line connected to it, that they must have the same problem as Earth. He names them the Iridians because why not? And he's like, okay, if you're showing me where you're from, let me try to show you where I'm from. He makes a very crude rendering of Sol, or the sun, with the Petrova line on it, to send back to him. And is basically like, okay, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So if astrophage is your enemy, I'm your friend.
Yes.
And goes back into the airlock and sends it across a little bit faster than what had, originally been or whatever. And the robot arm from the ship grabs it. And then Rylan waits for hours.
Yeah, he's like, I'm bored. But, like, I'm having first contact with alien life, and I'm bored.
Yep.
Which is hilarious. But then another cylinder is thrown his way, and they aim it to the airlock. And he's like, it's coming much faster, so I have to hurry up and get in the suit so that I can grab it. And it goes right into the airlock.
Yep. He lined it up right into the airlock. And so this time he is able to get it much quicker, opens it up, and there's a new model inside. And he realizes that it's a model of the the Hail Mary and Blip A's ship. And there's a connecting tube between the two of them. It goes right to the middle of like the diamond-shaped part of Blip A's ship, straight to the Hail Mary's airlock. And the tunnel is just wide enough to cover it. So our friends went to meet.
which I don't know how I would feel about that. I mean, I would be super excited, but
So nervous.
I would be scared out of my mind. Like, okay, you want to meet for a food source? Like, I guess you don't know what I am. I don't know what you are. They've seen him in the suit from afar. They have a Hull robot, so he hasn't seen what they look like at all. He's just seen this robot.
Yep.
And I'm like, I don't know. Like, again, I want your information, and I would give you any information I have, but
yeah. Well, and it's like, are our environments going to be compatible? Like, this thing's filled with ammonia, like I can smell it and everything, like I'm gasping, like this thing's hotter than heck.
And that's another thing he brings up is like, why is it so hot? It went through space. It should have gone through, like, it should have cooled down, so it was even hotter. So they must have a lot of heat in there and ammonia, and oh my gosh, like, how's this
gonna work?
Exactly.
What's gonna happen? Oh my
gosh. But that's the end of our first section. We've spent this whole section, we get like a slow revelation of the problem and the mission at hand. And I love that we're learning things alongside Rylan with the flashbacks and through his experiments. I think that is such a cool way to like present the story and the problem and move things along. And then we get an alien ship and we're like, what's happening? I mean, I thought at the beginning of this we were just solving a space problem. I didn't realize we were going to get little friends. So I was so pumped about that.
I love how accessible the science and the math is to this. It doesn't feel out of place. It doesn't make the story feel clunky. It's timed very well. It's very smoothly interspersed and goes really well with each part of it. So I never felt dumb reading such a science heavy book.
Exactly.
And for me, I really, really love the teacher aspect of Ryland. That one is really resonating with me as a teacher myself, to see that kind of like aspect of him.
I think too, the fact that he's a teacher and a teacher from middle school also helps the accessible science feel like good, you know, and how he does these quick little experiments like he would in his classroom. I feel like that also adds like an authenticity to it, like him as a character and him, like his thought processes, I guess. So it feels good, like it doesn't make you feel dumb because it feels like he's explaining it, you know, teaching you something.
I am very excited to see others' reactions to this if it's first time reading it. Of course, we've both read it before, so no spoilers. But so excited to keep reading through for our next section of the book.
Are these aliens going to be helpful or harmful? Are they in a similar boat? Are they trying to protect their fuel source? Like maybe are they the reason that the Tau Ceti star hasn't dimmed? Like, are they taking the astrophage and that's why it's just not getting to critical mass? We'll see in the next section.
Yes, we will.
So join us next time and let us know any questions or theories you might have.
See you then.